How is everyone doing? Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA show. I'm Rich CELENZA. WTF are you talking about? So what I want to get into today is trying to teach people to a certain degree to have what would I say here, I don't give a fuck type of attitude towards themselves and others. Because I think a lot of times we get so consumed on our beliefs that it makes us crazy. And then if other people don't believe in our beliefs, it makes us crazy. And I think we all have to learn to chill out, especially in this day and age. I think it's making a lot of people crazy, especially from a political standpoint, religious views, and many other things. And, I go back to me and my father a little bit. My father used to say, a lot of things bother him that didn't bother me. And believe me, when I get bothered by something, I'm very vocal, obviously. I just say it the way it is, and so does he. He used to say that he's much more offensive than I am, which I don't know if that's true or not. I think I've heard over the years, I'm also like my Grandpa Joe from Naples. He just tells it like it is, which I try to do as well. But my point is, a lot of times, things that are going on make us crazy. And we have to learn. It's kind of like, what is that, risky business? Sometimes you got to say, what the fuck, or whatever his theory was. Like, don't let every little thing or a lot of things make you crazy, because they will. You're not going to be able to control anybody for the most part. Your children you can until they get old enough to tell you to piss off. But for the most part, like the military says, you can't even control 3 feet outside of you. So you got to realize that. But you've got to calm down, I tell people a lot of times, and things are going to go your way a lot of times, and a lot of times they're not. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you own a company or you don't. You work for people. You don't. Whatever you think, things are going to go your way. Things are not. I always say you're going to have good days, bad days, good weeks, bad weeks, good years, bad years, blah, 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 good months, bad months, the whole thing. But don't let that shit make you fucking crazy. We used to collect money for years, legally and illegally all over the United States with gambling and stuff. And my uncle once came to visit us in Florida. We lived an entirely different lifestyle for most people in their early 20s. We lived in one of the top apartment complexes I got us, and we used to hang out at a lot of strip clubs. We ate at all the top restaurants. We definitely lived the lifestyle of a celebrity, even though we weren't necessarily celebrities. But even when shit would go down really bad a lot of times, for the most part, I would just analyze it from a different way and look at it kind of like, anything kind of bad I can kind of sometimes see the good in it, right? And my uncle once made a statement that I heard he made to a bunch of my buddies, and he's like, this just went down, and Richie walks around like nothing's wrong, like there's no problems. He walks around like he doesn't have a care in the world. And the truth was, I was kind of carrying that around, that I was aggravated. I didn't want to show them that. But then I would think about, no matter how aggravated I get, how is that helping me or anybody else solve this problem? Now, that doesn't mean sometimes I don't flip off the handle. I fly off the handle myself and get aggravated at stuff. But a lot of times in life, I realized, and I think because my father would get so crazy during running a nightclub and all this different chaos always going around, I was like, I was already exhausted by the time I was in my 20s. Being in that environment. So from 2 years old to basically 15 years old, my dad had a nightclub, and then I got thrown into collecting money for gaming, and all I was in was gentlemen's clubs, nightclubs, bars, restaurants, a lot of chaos, a lot of drinking, drugs. I really felt like a veteran. By the time I was 20, I was kind of exhausted. But I had to have that attitude like, I don't give a fuck. Because if you're in certain industries, you can't always give a fuck to that level, because everything will make you mad. And I think I see this more and more with people now, with social media, with families, with a lot of different things. Everyone's kind of on full tilt, where they're just, something's ready to set them off at any moment. If somebody doesn't agree with their political beliefs, religious beliefs, the news, anything, They're ready to argue, they're ready to scream, they're not looking at anybody else's perspective. But at the end of the day, is it worth the battle? I always say, who gives a fuck? Because for me to really get nuts, is it worth the battle? You've got to pick your battles. You can't sit around and have a ton of different battles that end with, what's the end result? Do you think by me arguing with somebody, I'm going to flip them politically online? It's fucking ridiculous. Even in your workplace, we all know who's who, and that's it. You're not going to reprogram these people. All you could do is try to get along with them the best way you can. My dad had a saying in his bar that, an asshole's an asshole. A lot of guys that would get drunk in his bar, start fights. Some they'd win, some they'd lose. The next day he'd come back, guess what? He's still an asshole. Right? Don't be the asshole. Try to get through all that shit. I've had to analyze myself a lot lately the last few years, especially my behavior. My tone sucked, I think. My mother used to tell me this all the time, that, it was my tone. It was kind of a no-nonsense asshole calling somebody a jag-off at all times that didn't believe in what I believed in. Even though I was very open-minded when it comes to people's religious beliefs, I don't get, or any of that. I like whatever God bless them. But if you did pull if I got triggered, I have no conscience to what I say to you. I have no fear. I don't care if you're a president of a company, if I work with you, for you, if while I was making my films, whatever I'm doing, I would be the first one to step right in your face, look you eye to eye, and tell you to go fuck yourself. And then I wanted to almost go to another level and go to war with them. And I think what happens with my personality, I'm pretty silly all the time. I'm pretty silly laughing all the time, but then once I call it, I go black, then I see nothing, I don't care. Then it's war. It goes so far the other way. There's not a middle ground with me a lot of times. I'm usually one way where I'm just easy breezy, listening to everybody, laughing, making the best of that situation. And then all of a sudden, when I go all the other way, I'm aggravated and I'm going to call you a jag-off if I think you're a jag. And then I just immediately go to war with you and attack mode, which isn't good either. But again, for the most part, I really don't take myself that serious. I really never did. And I think, again, that was just being obsessed with comedians. And I love the entertainment business. I love making movies. I used to say I like make-believe more than reality. So a lot of times when I'm in certain situations with people, I could see, I hate seeing people argue and getting mad. And I hate seeing people, because I was kind of from an Italian background, obviously, and there was a lot of screaming, yelling, chaos. But that's what made us all who we were. I wouldn't have it any other way. And again, back to my father's nightclub, or being in the nightclub industry for so long, a lot of screaming, yelling, music blasting. I became very comfortable, I guess you could say, in chaos. So it would take a lot to rattle me. Even at a young age, I'm looking at a lot of people drinking, doing a lot of drugs, overdosing, sex, all these different things. So I was very, nothing really fazed me. It's really hard to shock me on any level. That goes for anyone. I wouldn't be surprised, my mother used to say that all the time. Who you think, how did she word it, where a lot of people are going to end up in their life. You're not going to expect these people to end up in the situations they're going to end up in a lot of times. And she was right. I never thought this would happen to this person, good or bad, like this or that. I never got, I had to also stop. What I would do is, and I think a lot of us have this, is I analyzed people to death. And I would call myself the analyzer, and I would analyze everything, and it would make me crazy. I'd lose sleep over it, or try to figure things out. If that happens, then that's going to happen, which is fine. That's cool, because you want to protect yourself. But at the end of the day, what the fuck was I doing? That's why I eventually had to write screenplays of things, because then you can write up all these stories and then analyze how they're going to come out on film, which is fine when you're doing it there. But in real life, I exhausted myself. And don't do that to yourself. Start learning not to take yourself so seriously, or others, even when they're getting nuts and want you to take them wholeheartedly serious, and you better do what I'm saying, you better listen to what I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't mean to say let it go in one ear out the other. Give them respect and listen to them. But there's a time and a place sometimes to argue your point, and there's another time to just let people vent. My father talks about that too. He's like, I need to vent. And I sometimes say, why do I have to suffer and listen to you vent? If I vented as much as you vent, we're screaming at each other. Then what are we doing? What's getting accomplished there? So for the most part, I had to learn to listen. I throw in what I believe at certain points. And again, I'm not telling you to sit around and listen to every asshole. Take your time out, and that goes for emails as well, or text or anything. People sending you all their shit, you're not their punching bag. You got to understand too, to tell people, hey, listen, I don't give a fuck enough about your opinion after a while. Like, I've listened to you, I think you're full of shit. That's just my opinion. Or, listen, I understand your point, now leave me alone, right? I get that. But see, the way I even talked there, my tone kind of sucked. But at least, you've got to be honest with yourself. Let people know where you stand. But that doesn't mean, again, carrying around all this baggage of hatred, misery, or all these different things. Because, again, you're taking yourself so serious. Here's the truth. You were born. I talked about this before. You had no choice but to be born, right? And then obviously you have one option, to live or die, right? Death is hunting you. You've got to make the best out of whoever you are right now if you want to live a decent, happy life. You have to, or else you're going to make yourself crazy, which is fine. If you like being crazy, a lot of people love drama and chaos, and they don't like to admit it. It reminds me of Facebook. Tons of people, I hate Facebook. They're on Facebook. I hate all these people doing this and that. You're a part of it. You understand that, right? So I'm kind of calling people on their bullshit. A lot of people are bored in their life. They need drama. They need action. Because a lot of them are just sitting on they go to work. Their action is going to Starbucks, or going to a gym, maybe looking at some girl's ass. I don't know what there is. Then they come home, sit on the couch, watch Sports Center. This is men. I'm not talking women. I don't know what women do. I'm not a woman. They have their own lives. I'm just talking a lot of men, and not all men do this. But I'm saying, for the most part, a lot of people's lives are boring. So again, in their mind, they want to drum up all this chaos. They want to argue online themselves, or they want to fight, drink, get crazy if they're younger. All these different things, because again, they're taking themselves serious. But I got a newsflash for you. You're going to die in probably 100, 200 years, unless you're famous, unless you do a lot of things. No one's going to even fucking know you existed, right? For the most part. Because it's like you saying, do you know do you know your ancestors? Do you know your great uncles, or your great grandfather? Do you know anything? And I understand now there's more things to keep a history of what we're doing, like a podcast. So 200 years from now, maybe my kids may have kids, or other people would like to look me up. They can listen to my podcast or anything. But do you think they're going to really be that caught up in that? I mean, unless I was really doing something extraordinary, they're going to be like, they have their own lives to lead. They'll probably be doing their own, whatever they're doing then wouldn't be a podcast. It'd be something else, probably, most likely, whatever they're doing in the future. But you think they're really going to get caught up in what the fuck I'm doing? Of course not, right? So my point being, again, is not taking you or anything that seriously. Enjoy the ride, man, because the ride, you don't know if the ride is going to end today, in 5 minutes, and in a month, a year, 10 years, you're here, you're gone. And I'm sure if you're like me, I've known hundreds of people that are gone, that have come in and out of my life. Not only do they come in and out of my life, they're gone, they're also dead, right? So just enjoy your life and just break it down. Think about what's going to really, and I just did this too, an episode, but I think it fucked up on the podcast. It was called Stop Making Your Rules Make You Crazy. We have all these rules, and a lot of times they're not benefiting us. They're kind of just restricting us from becoming what we really want to become, or stopping us from getting what we want, really, because we were programmed a certain way, and then we keep going throughout our life this way, and for some reason we keep disciplining ourselves for some reason to stop us in our tracks and not be open-minded enough to change our rules and become something maybe a little different than who we are, to get what we want. Because I think a lot of us are very comfortable with who we are, and we're very secure with it, which is wonderful. But then deep down inside, a lot of us are like, man, I wish I could do this, or I wanted to do this. Why am I not doing that? And that's because most likely you're afraid, which is understandable. Again, it goes back to programming. If you don't do this, that happens. If this happens, that'll happen. If you don't do that, that'll happen. All these type of things, which again, for the most part, is kind of bullshit. Because as you know, the people that usually break a lot of the rules, I'm not talking laws as far as society goes, going out and breaking laws. I'm not talking that. I'm saying the rules as far as breaking out, learning to create things, or they're the ones who set the world into a whole different direction, right? Are the ones that break the rules. They really think outside the box, and maybe you got to start doing that with your mind to get the results you want. I always say, forget about thinking outside the box, smash the box. Just go be who the fuck you want to be. And hopefully you don't hurt anybody along the way. I don't want you to do that, but back to taking yourself so seriously, and look at the behavior and how you treat others a lot of times, because we kind of don't analyze that enough, and I've had to do that. Like a lot of who we are, we're kind of very judgmental. We're always judging a lot of people, and we don't a lot of times like to be questioned or judged, but we are the first ones to question and judge everyone. And I've been learning this with the girl I date, and she has a couple kids, and I have some kids, and just being a lot more patient with my parents, and just stepping back and saying, my God, is what you're about to say, is it going to be helpful or hurtful? Like even on the podcast, like, are we going to be talking about, is it going to make sense for people, or are you just going to sound like a rambling idiot? I'm sure at times it's both, right? But for the most part what are you sending off? What vibe am I really sending off? Am I sending a vibe off that I am a prick, an asshole, or am I sending off a vibe that is kind of more inviting and understanding? And I realized a lot of times I don't want to hear people's problems. Like, I know this guy who was at an Italian restaurant. It was hilarious. Anytime you went and you said something negative or this and that, and he wasn't even Italian, he was Albanian. He goes, hey, I got my own problems. And I used to think, yeah, that's true. It's hilarious. Everybody wants to spew their problems on everybody else, but nobody else wants to hear about other people's problems, right? For the most part. You're like, hey, get over yourself. Go solve your problem. Or if you need help, find the people that can help you solve it. But a lot of times with us, we like complaining and commiserating. As much as we pretend we don't, we do. And if that's something you like to do, God bless. But don't be shocked when other people tell you to piss off. They don't want to hear it, because I know I don't for the most part. I'm not saying I have to hear all good news. And if you do have a problem and you're a friend of mine or a relative or somebody, I'd love for you to come and help me, because I like helping people. There's no question about that. But if you're somebody who's just always miserable and can't seem to find happiness, that's kind of on you. There's nothing someone else can do. They can't jump inside your body, and you're not escaping your shell, I call it, your body. You can't leave your body as much as you'd like to. And obviously a lot of people, I think, drink or do drugs or do things to numb the pain or escape to a certain degree. And I don't have that disease, so I don't understand it. That doesn't mean that it's not, I can't imagine having that, because that's got to be very hard to go through. And I hope you don't think I'm telling people they don't need help. If you need help, please go get help. That's ridiculous. I think you know what I mean by that. It's more on a fun level than it is anything else. But please stop taking yourself, like I said, I don't mean to keep saying it so seriously, because I think for the most part, people love to be around somebody who they feel comfortable with, who makes them laugh, and they know they're there for them. They're not talking shit behind their back. They know they're not out to get any, if you don't want anything from anyone and you just genuinely just like to be around people and they feel that, that's the best type of people, I think. My father used to say it's the people that make the party, right? You can have the biggest party in the world, but if everyone there that, who comes sucks, the party's going to suck. But you can have 3 people, right? And they could be the 3 funnest people, and you can have a blast with them. So again, think about, are you really somebody who people want to be around? And I teach that in my Mastering Self-Confidence program. It's to help men find the woman or women of their dreams, even if they've been through a bad breakup or divorce. I always say, are you somebody you would date? Do you have the personality like that you'd want to be around? Are you really, like, you may think you're cool, but really, are you that cool? Are you really, are you like smart, articulate? Do you do things correctly? Are you shady? Do you lie? Are you a bullshitter? Like a lot of the things we all are. Do you want somebody like that? Or do you want to be somebody, a lot of times you need to be who you want to find, right? If you want a good person, be a good person. You can't be a dick all the time and you want a good person, because most likely a good person is going to say, this person's a dick. Get the fuck out of here. Try to become a little bit, I'm not saying you have to become a woman by any means, but, a lot of times the way we want to be spoken to, speak to people that way. A lot of way we want to be treated, just in general, treat people that way. You can't have it, you can't fuck with you just basically can't be an asshole, I believe, to a certain degree. You can, and some women will fall for that and still put up with your bullshit. But I think eventually what happens, and this could go for your kids or anybody in workplace or colleagues, you become a reflector, I call it. You don't realize how many people are avoiding you or not coming around you. It could be, again, family members, friends. Even though you may think you're the center of attention, you may think you're the cool guy, or you may be shocked at what people are saying behind your back because you just may be an asshole. And again, if that's what you want to be, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times is, if you don't like being an asshole, which I think sometimes we do catch ourselves saying, wow, in hindsight, why did I handle that way? Why did I handle this way? How did this end up this way? A lot of it was because of you. You have to take, responsibility for that. Stop blaming others for the situations you end up in. That's ridiculous. Now, if somebody does something to you out of left field, you can't control that. But a lot of times you can control a little more than you think you can by your behavior, because your behavior is everything. I always talk about it. I don't care what you think, what you believe. Your behavior is what expresses who you truly are. And if you keep treating people like shit, most likely you are going to also start getting treated like shit. I don't care how much money you have. Again, you may not even realize this because people are doing this behind closed doors. But just start having fun in your life, I think. No matter what point you are in your life, start laughing more, start doing things that are going to make you laugh more. And I really think, just growing up around a lot of comedians, I love humor. I try to incorporate that even when I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos and stuff. And even the podcast, I want it to be, I know a lot of things I'm saying are off color, but I want that people to be a little shocked. But hopefully they understand it's kind of supposed to be funny. It's not all serious talk. It's not like I'm some guy who's going to sit here. And even when I start doing my interviews, I want it to be more fun related. And I have no problem making fun of myself. I'm comfortable enough to bum rap, I guess you could say, every aspect of myself. I used to say there's nothing someone can really tell me that I already, for the most part, haven't mentally, verbally abused myself. I know that sounds to a certain degree funny. Again, I think I took myself so serious for so many years that I really had to step back and say, just, lighten up again. And I took myself real serious, I think, in my teens and all that stuff, trying to always prove these points. Like I said, when I got into my 20s, I was exhausted from that. And I also was somebody who was always afraid of what somebody would say about me or think about me or all these different things, when really and I did a podcast, just be comfortable in your own skin, man. Relax. Chill the fuck out. Another day is coming. No matter who you are not going to control society for the most part. You're not going to control. You can barely control your own environment if you have a family, let alone what everybody else is doing. The sun's coming up, it's going down. People are rocking and rolling. I don't know if you've ever been to New York. I grew up in Chicago, but for the most part, go stand in the middle of New York. You will feel like an ant. If you've ever seen a massive anthill and kicked it, everyone is just scrambling, and you can just sit there. It's funny, you could be around millions of people, and you could feel like the most loneliest person on the face of the earth, just standing there. Everybody will just walk around you and by you. You can die in New York, lay on the floor. People just walk right over you for the most part. I'm not saying that to make hopefully people think that they're irrelevant, but what I'm here to tell you is life is going on with or without you. So go live the life that you really want to live. If you can't afford to live it now, start setting up the pieces to do it. A lot of things I tell people, they're not what you think they are. A lot of people think they want the big mansion or the Ferrari or all these things. A lot of people don't want, you'd be shocked if you got those things, you wouldn't want to maintain them. It's the small things a lot of people, I realize, especially from people that are older, they just want, as they get older, to be healthy, enjoy time with their grandchildren, or just go to the beach, go fishing, go, vacation a little more. Simple things to a certain degree are, I think, what make people the most happy. It could be small little get-togethers. They don't have to have a party of 200 people. Again, they don't need a Ferrari. It could be an old car they grew up in. It could be an old Mustang. It could be any of these things. It could be getting something that, you grew up with your parents that just bring back great memories. It could be a piece of jewelry. I don't know what it is. You got to figure that out, but don't think that big luxury items a lot of times are going to be the answers, or again, taking yourself so serious that all this stress that I don't have enough money, I'm never going to have enough money to give to my kids, or I'm not going to have enough money to leave them, or I don't have enough money to do this or that. I get we all would like a lot more money to be able to have the freedom to do whatever we want. Some have it, some don't. But again, don't let that bog you down and make you crazy. All right? Try not to. All right? Because all your actions, the way you're acting, is affecting other people. It really is a responsibility. I go through that with my kids, my mother, and my father. I try more than ever to be as responsible as I can regarding when I'm with them, listening and spending as much time that I can with my parents, because I know they're going to be gone one day, just like I've lost a lot of other family members, and I want to enjoy as much as I can. I try to talk to them every day, both of them, all these different types of things. That's just what I do, and I just didn't want to be the guy at the end of the day, because I think I left my mother at a young age, 18, and I came and lived with my dad, and I only lasted a couple of years, and then I've been on my own. I worked with my dad, but I just, I didn't live with my mother for many, obviously I'm going at 50, so I haven't lived with her from 18 to 50. I lived in Southern California, and I was in Chicago at times, but, you know, I want my mother to know, and I'm her only child, that I do love her, and she's my best friend, and my dad will understand that I'm always here for him, and, you know, all those type of things, and I value life, I guess, right now. Will I in the future? I don't know, but right now I value the time that I still have with them. And who knows, I always say I may pass away first. You don't know when you get older. You may outlive your children, which is something I don't want to do, but sometimes things happen to people where my mother and father are still in pretty good damn shape, and who knows what can happen to me. So maybe on the other end, they'll understand that if something ever happened to me, that they know that I love them, and I, you know, was trying to be there as much as I could for them. And that can be anybody. That could even be, you know, your wife, or even your ex-wives or your ex-girlfriends. I think how you handle yourself behavior-wise, again, through all these different periods of our life, really is who we are. And if you've made some mistakes along the way, maybe try to reach out to people if you want to, you know, apologize, or if you just want to say, hey, I'm, you know, it could be friends or whatever. Be the bigger man or woman to say, listen, I think I made a mistake here. Or even if you didn't think you made a mistake, maybe still reach out and say, you know what, I honestly miss our friendship. I hate that this happened to us. I miss you. Or, you know, I'd really like to get back together again. Or maybe you have family members that don't talk. Maybe trying to put them back together, spending a little time working on that. Just trying to be a better person, I guess you should say. So I'm going to leave it at that. So if you get a chance, check out my YouTube channel, Rich CELENZA, and then I got a Facebook page. I told you about the program, and the Mastering Self-Confidence program I have out, and I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. So, all right, I wish you guys nothing but the best. Take care.